This year and this season, I've been making sure that I freshen up the content, provide some new year-end list videos for you guys that are different to previous years that I've done. I did the Spotify Wrapped video that I hadn't done before, and now I'm going to be looking at my Discord server's favourite albums of the year and favourite songs of the year, something I haven't done before because prior to this year I hadn't even got a Discord server up and running, but this year I have made sure that it started. It is part of the Patreon that you can subscribe to for just £1 or $1 a month. You get to join and get access to the Discord server. So if you are interested, it's a bargain. It's a bargain. It's an absolute bargain. It's only £1 a month. It's a bargain. It's cheaper than Netflix. It's a lot cheaper than Netflix, so consider it. Go have a look at my Patreon link in the description and think about joining. And other tiers as well provide you other bonus features that you can get. It's all good. So yeah, I asked the people in my Discord server to send over some write-ups for their favourite music of the year, either a song or an album or both. A few people sent both, and a few other people sent just their favourite album of the year as well. And I'm going to be running through the write-ups that they've sent in as well, just talking through what people in the Discord server like. I'm not going to put it in a particular, any particular ranked order or anything like that. I could have done some kind of like aggregate of like whatever people voted for or something like that, but I think at the moment it's a pretty low-key server. There isn't a huge amount of people in there, and maybe if it ever does grow to a sizable level, we could think about doing something like that in the future. But for now, we've just got like 5 or 6 contributions from the people in this Discord server, and yeah, I'm just going to run through what they have sent in. Some interesting picks for sure, some surprising picks that I don't think I would see many other people pick elsewhere, which is cool to see. And then of course we've got some familiar faces that you might see on other year-end lists as well. But there's been some pretty interesting entries that have been sent my way, and I'm going to start off with John's album of the year. John has sent me in his album of the year here. I've got my laptop and I'm going to read, and I'm going to have the write-up on screen, so don't worry, you're not just going to see me reading the whole time. But yeah, John's album of the year is Cave World by Viagra Boys. Cave World is the perfect blend of dance and punk style instrumentals matched with tongue-in-cheek songwriting that pokes fun at the concept of human development and evolution. The album oozes character and is just a thoroughly joyful listen. I get it, I really do. And once I reviewed the album myself, I spoke about this album with John after, because I recommended it to him. And yeah, having a conversation with him actually opened my eyes a little bit more to some of the concepts and to some of the lyrical ideas that they were going for in the album that I hadn't quite considered initially, so that was really good. And that's one of the things I love about music, is that you can bounce off people and talk with people and just think about things in ways you didn't think of before. So that was definitely worthwhile talking with him about this album. I can totally see why it's someone's album of the year. I haven't seen it mentioned as many other people's album of the year so far, but it is a really good one. It's a really good rock album, and I think in terms of what they're bringing to the table lyrically, they're definitely up there with the best at the moment. I mean, they in some places remind me of Idols, the other band from the UK that do a similar style of music. But Idols have kind of lost a bit of their edge, I think, since their first album. They're not quite as poignant with the lyrical styles or the lyrics that they go for. They're not quite as inventive as they were initially. So I feel like Viagra Boys are kind of stealing that spot at the moment. John also sent his song of the year as well. We've got Everything Matters by AURORA. Everything Matters is a lofty art pop track which thrives on AURORA's atmospheric vocal style mixed with delicate instrumentation. The track builds and develops with elegant style and generates an excellent sense of atmosphere. So yeah, that's the song of the year. Definitely an interesting pick. Again, not really one I'm seeing many other people pick, so cool to see something a bit different get picked here. And yeah, I like the AURORA album. I thought it was pretty good. Wasn't quite as enamored with it as much as I wanted to be. I feel like I was trying to feel it when I was listening to it, and it just wasn't quite landing, but it was all right. Like, it was decent. But it's really cool to see AURORA get an album, a song of the year, and I'm also sure it's his second favorite album of the year as well. So yeah, really cool to see AURORA get some credit, because she doesn't really get reviewed that much by publications. She doesn't really get that much hype in the music world. I don't see that much for her, but she's definitely worth it and definitely worthy of getting a Song of the Year. Okay, next we got Ben's contributions. Ben has sent in both Song of the Year and Album of the Year, and this time I'm going to start with Song of the Year to switch it up. So we got Ben's Song of the Year, Hachi, Lights On. The perfect way to kick off Giving the World Away and really sets the tone for the album. Such a dreamy tune with Hachi's vocals being perfect as usual. A song about a secret love affair where you both realise you have fallen for each other but knowing it can't work out, but also knowing no one else has ever made you feel so good. Quite sad lyrics, but with such a catchy hook you can't help but love it. A perfect pop song. I can't really disagree. Hachi is one of my favourite artists out at the moment. One of the best new artists of the past few years. She's on a really good upward trajectory at the moment, I think, in terms of her music. I think she's so talented and so good and just brilliant. Like, there's so many wonderful things about her music that you just get sucked into, and she just has the perfect approach to dream pop music, and I think Lights On is a great pick for Song of the Year. It really is. One of the best on the album. I think I might prefer a few other tracks from it, but I don't really think it matters either way, because there's so many great ones on that on the album. And her first album as well was fantastic. Her EP was fantastic. Like, Hachi has it all at the moment. She's great live as well. Yeah, she is one to watch for the future. I think she could put out even more great albums as time goes on, and hopefully she will continue to get that recognition she really deserves. Okay, and then his album of the year is Renaissance by Beyonce. How could it not be? How could it not be? He's written here, a fantastic album that is so much fun. No slow songs or ballads, just full of energy and amazing beats. The mix of upbeat tone with the vocals works so well. The standout tracks for me are Alien Superstar, Pure Honey, and Summer Renaissance, which are some of the best songs she's ever done. Yeah, I can't really argue with that. I do think Renaissance has some of the best songs she's ever done. Each track seamlessly flows into the next with Cuff It, Energy, Break My Soul, etc. The replay value is off the charts and genuinely gets better with each listen. Please let it win Album of the Year. Yeah, I mean, it would be a great pick for Album of the Year. I mean, when you look back at the many album picks of the past few years, it could possibly potentially be the best of the bunch. Like, it goes toe to toe with any album from any year, really, in that sense. And yeah, I think the Grammys have to pick it this time. I think they really do. And I agree with what he said as well about the way the tracks flow into one another. I'm such a sucker for that on an album, man. Like, when an album has songs that just seamlessly keep flowing into each other, it's so good. Love that so much. Pierre Bourne's album from last year was great for that, and so many other albums out there as well do it. Love stuff like that. So yeah, a great album, just as good as everyone is saying it is. Also feels like, in terms of the impact it had on the charts, I sort of feel like it hasn't quite done a dent in the way I expected it to. Like, I thought more of the singles were going to be like #1 for weeks on end. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but as we know, Brits have no taste. So, it was stupid of me to expect those songs to top the charts for weeks on end, because we like Unholy by Kim Petras and Sam Smith instead. Okay, we got Mike's picks next. Mike has sent in a Song of the Year and an Album of the Year too, which is very good indeed. He talks a little bit about how his Song of the Year currently actually isn't his Song of the Year. It doesn't matter. I was just asking people to send something that they love from this year. It didn't have to be the best of the best. But yeah, he talks a little bit about how he hasn't really decided one yet. But he goes on to say, so at this particular time, on this particular night, the best song of the year just so happens to be the fittingly titled After the Earthquake, a euphoric power pop titling of a song by Alvvays, of course. It's a track that uses the band's signature blend of soaring electric guitar riffs and dreamy shoegaze jangles as a means of evoking distant cracks of lightning. That the raw feeling of the track appears to be invincible is interesting, because the actual lyrical subject matter, apparently inspired by Murakami, is so concerned with failure, even going so far as to build its chorus around the image of a funeral. I suppose I interpret it as representing reflection in the aftermath of a life-changing event, looking back on experiences and trying to make sense of the fallout. How else can you explain why it has such an anthemic hook, driven by Molly's best vocal performance to date? Question mark? Question mark? Is it? It just might be. After all is said and done, you've made it through. No other song this year sounded closer to pure ecstasy. Punch the sky with triumph music. And you know what, Mike? Just for you, I will. Yeah, it's a great track. It is a fantastic song, and I'm going to probably be doing a few spoilers here for my year-end lists on this video, but this was my favourite track on the album, and in fact I said it in the review anyway, After the Earthquake is fantastic. I don't know how, when it hits that chorus and it lifts, oh my god, it sounds so good. It is blissful. And yeah, another artist at the moment that are just nailing the sound that they're really influenced by, similar to Hachi. You know, they've got their influences, but they've nailed the sound down to a T, and Alvvays and Hachi are both up there with the best at the minute. So he may not have picked his song of the year just yet officially, but he has officially picked his album of the year, and that is Ants from Up Here by Black Country New Road. Big surprise, troops, but London music student nerds really did end up making the best record of the year. Pretty easy to see why the emotional dynamics throughout the track list have resonate with so many, generating catharsis out of what seems to be overwhelmingly painful real-life trauma by channeling it into transformative art rock melodrama, magnifying the tortured angst and vulnerability of Wood's experiences with the instrumental backdrop of maximalist, theatre-inclined chamber arrangements is a stroke of genius. If Arcade Fire aren't making worth my albums anymore, God, yeah, we will, yeah. Someone else might as well be. It's a brave album, not at least because it recognises that elaborate statement-reaching songwriting can delve into embarrassing material, such as the original Basketball Shoes lyrics, without needing to come across as pretentious, provided that the band's cards are played right. And the played right those cards are. It was worded well. I fucked that up right up, didn't I? Every song here is absolutely golden. The future indie cult anthems are obvious from first listen, like the eruptive mellow build of Concord or Whole Team harmonic coda of the place where he inserted the blade. But what I like most about the album is the necessity of each musical idea. I mean, aside from the interludes, what else could you cut? And yeah, a phenomenal piece of work, almost inevitably destined to be a landmark for modern indie music. Yeah, it's a good album, and it is one that I am seeing many people pick as their album of the year. Unfortunately for me, I thought it was decent. It didn't quite land though. I don't know what it was. I think some of the tracks were too long or didn't really have that same impact as the first album, but maybe it's one to go back to. I feel like the impact that it's had on so many people, I mean, there's got to be something to that. Like, I don't necessarily think you have to like everything everyone likes. I'm not trying to say that, but there is something to this album, I think, that I maybe didn't quite pick up on. I do think instrumentally it was fantastic at times, though. There were some brilliant songs, as you would expect from such a good band. But yeah, maybe one to go back to, but a really nice write-up here from Mike. Really interesting to see how much impact it's had on people when you don't personally like it yourself. No, I do like it, but I don't love it, should I say. Yeah, definitely an interesting one to see. But yeah, cool. Right, we've got a few more to go through now. We've got Gerbil PMC with Dusters Together. Duster is back with Together. They are indeed. This follows their 2019 self-titled album after nearly 20 years hiatus. That's a very long time. This one explores lots of new sounds and dreamy textures. Some might be turned off by a slightly more generic sound here, but Duster always brings a distinct somber feeling to their music. Some highlights for me would be N, Teeth, Moon Roam, and Feel No Joy. And yeah, that is where we're at with Duster. Yeah, I can see it. I definitely feel like the moody, somber feel is what attracts people to this, because I think you really do have to be buying into that sort of dire atmosphere that they present. Because I didn't really get into it myself, but I feel like that particular kind of music is what you really need to be in the right setting for, the right mood or the right frame of mind. Yeah, and I think Duster have that impact. But of course, Stratosphere is a really good album by them, and it's good to see that after so many years, they're having this kind of impact on people. Like, they were gone for so long, and some people who you know, love this new album, or, you know, like Gerbil PMC here, probably weren't even like paying attention to the albums that came out when they first came about in the 90s. Like, these are probably young people that are getting into their music years after, and it's quite remarkable to see such a low-key indie band have such a wide impact on so many people. It's impressive, so I like that. Okay, next pick is Jack, who has picked one of his favourite albums of the year. He prefaces it by saying he's not sure if it is his favourite album of the year. That's okay. The point of the video is to send your favourite music, and that's absolutely fine. And he's gone with a really recent one, actually. We've got Little Sims with No Thank You. So what No Thank You makes clear is that Little Sims is well on her way to being considered among the all-time greats in hip-hop. Yeah, I was saying this as well. I think all she really needs now is to just keep the consistency, and she has to be up there in the conversation. Not just UK, not just female. Like, if you want to kind of band people into groups, I disagree. I think she's amongst all of them because her music has been fantastic. And so yeah, definitely a victory lap after the success of Simbi. No Thank You was announced suddenly with little marketing, in contrast to the year-long build-up to the release Simbi had. It uses the same instrumental palette, but a little more subtly to allow for a more reflective experience. Yeah, for sure. She experiments with longer form songs that allow a stronger sense of storytelling to come across. Just another style she shows she can do brilliantly. If this was carefully thought out album, then it has completed one of the best 3-album runs of the last 10 years. Ooh! If this is just extra material that she had left over, every other rapper can just stop trying. Ooh! Jack coming out here with some of the heat. He might be kind of right, though, actually. I mean, there's lots of great runs in music from artists. I mean, Julie Holter has one of the best album runs for sure. Her album runs are ridiculous. But yeah, maybe she's up there. I mean, possibly up there. I think she could be. Simbi was the peak, though, surely. Simbi was like the wow. Grey Area was really good. And then this one, yeah, you know, could be onto something. And yeah, to be fair, this is kind of a similar situation to when Kendrick Lamar, you know, gave us Untitled and Mastered, and it was kind of just leftover stuff that didn't make the album, and everyone was raving about it, and it was as good as most other albums out there as well from any rapper. So if this is leftovers, then Little Sims, my God, she ain't messing around. Okay, and the last and final entry now, no particular order, as I said, we've got Vale Smith, who you should be familiar with his music. I hope you are. I really hope you are, and I hope you're familiar with his YouTube channel as well, Buffalo Staple, a great music reviewing channel there, so entertaining. If you're not already subscribed, I don't know why you're not, because you are crazy if you're not. And he's given me his favourite album of the year, which is Open Mike Eagle's Component System with the Auto Reverse, and this is what he says. I love that it was a celebration of simpler times, and as things continue to change around me in 2022, life in general just got hard to keep up with. So it was nice to have an album on my phone that really sounded like home. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? And the nostalgic warmth of the production, that gentle tone of Mike's voice and endlessly fascinating lyrics all combined to give me something I'm really grateful for. I connected with how Mike speaks with a subtle regret as he looks back on the past, as if he looks back on things fondly, but with a bitterness at those times now gone. He also captured the eerie comfort in thinking about those memories and escaping into them. I feel like he tapped into how that feels really accurately. As a front to back listen, it's not particularly showy or groundbreaking, but it's the friendliest and most warm, most welcoming thing that I heard this year. My favourite quote from it is, "Yesterday isn't as scary because you already know what happened." Oh yeah, that's good. I appreciate that despite Mike's playfulness, his humour and penchant for catchy, quirky beats, he has a deeply human acknowledgement here that life is scary for everyone. But listening to this album makes me feel all simple for 37 minutes. Mike reflects on his old music, how far he's come, his collaborations over the years and memories with family, and he does so with wiser perspective. I found it encouraging and a nice reminder of the importance of looking back. This was an album that stopped me in my tracks during a few stressful and confusing times, and told me that moving onward and upward is always necessary, but take a moment sometimes, as you can't forget how far you've come. This was a refreshing takeaway to get from a new album, and it took me off guard. Dozens of listens later, it ended up providing me with the most defining and valuable music of the year. Wow, fair play. Fair play, Valesmith. This is really detailed and really has shown how much it's impacted you. Like crazy stuff here. I you know what, I didn't even listen to this album before he sent this in, but I was like, no, I'm gonna have to check out all the albums just in case I hadn't heard any that have been sent in. And this was one of them. There's only a couple, but this was one of them. And I was impressed, actually. I've kind of fallen a bit off the mic train, but I'm a bit silly to have done that, because I think this actually is one of his best in quite a few years. I was impressed, and for sure I think his lyrical ideas and the way he presents his writing is always super interesting, and the fact that it's had this kind of impact on Valesmith here isn't really surprising at all, because I think he is that kind of writer. He has that way of words, and I was impressed with the album. I think it sounded really good as well. I think the beats he chose were fantastic. So really good stuff here. Very nice to see Valesmith get so reflective with his pick and how much of an impact it's had. This is music, man. This is what it can do. It can make you feel this way. And that's all the picks sent my way from my Discord server, which is fantastic. We had, I think that's everybody. John, Ben, Juggle PMC, Mike, Jack, Valesmith. Awesome, fantastic stuff. We had songs of the years, we had albums of the years, and we had lots of really great write-ups as well, expressing the favorite music of 2022, which is really great to see. Thank you for everyone that contributed in the server. You are all amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. It made for such a great video and such an insightful video, reading about all your picks. And hopefully, if you're watching this, you got something out of this as well. So please let me know your thoughts in the comments. That would be wonderful. Tell me what your favorite albums and songs of the year are in the comments as well. Please check out the Patreon link, as I've already said. You can be a part of this for other things as well in the future, and you can be part of the Discord server talking about music as well. So thank you as always. Do have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already, and goodbye.